TIFU by telling my wife that I would date again if she died. Throwaway. Me, 36M, and my wife, Pam, 34F, have been together for over 10 years. Recently, our friend, Kevin, 38M, started dating his new girlfriend. His wife passed away about 3 years ago. Pam and I were in bed together when she started talking about Kevin. She said that she was disappointed in Kevin for dating again so soon. She claimed that Kevin is disrespecting his wife's memory by moving on to someone else. I responded by saying that everyone processes the loss of a partner differently. I told her that I see no problem with Kevin moving on and I'm sure his wife would want him to be happy again. Pam looked shocked and asked me if I really didn't see a problem with it. I told her that I had no issues with it, it is Kevin's life after all. She asked me what I would do if she ever passed away. I told her that I can't give a definitive answer because I'm not planning on that happening. She continued to probe me and asked if I would ever date again or get remarried. I responded, probably. I love you to death and would be heartbroken if you died, but life goes on. I can't stop living my life just because you're gone. She looked drained and said, am I really that easy to get over? I told her, honey, that's not what I meant. I'll always have a special place in my heart for you, but that doesn't mean I can't love anyone else. I would want you to move on too if I died. She just stared at the wall and said, I get it. It's been 3 days and Pam is still depressed over the whole thing. Her sister called me earlier today and trashed me for what I said. She said that I should have kept that to myself and I was a scumbag for basically telling Pam she can be replaced. Pam still won't speak to me and everything is really tense around the house. Now Pam is fully convinced that I'm not in love with her and I'm just waiting for her to die so I can replace her with a new toy. TLDR. I told my wife that I would date again if she died. Now she thinks that I'm not in love with her anymore. My wife just saw this over my shoulder and said, I feel like if I died you would start dating quickly and marry the first girl you dated. When I looked at her like, WTF does that mean? She replied, I'm a great wife and you're going to need to fill that gap pretty quick. My mom was dying from cancer, had just been put in hospice, and wasn't conscious much. One of the last things she said to my dad was that she wanted him to be happy and hoped he would find someone who loved him as much as she did. They were barely out of their teens when they got married and he'd never lived alone till she died. We were all happy when he married my stepmother. He sure knows how to pick a partner. It's healthy to move on. He will always love my mom. Over 9 years later, he still goes to her grave monthly to tend to the grass and put new flowers. And he absolutely adores my stepmother. It would have crushed us all if my dad had just lived alone and miserable the rest of his life. Beldar Conehead had the perfect reply. Beldar Conehead. If, for some reason your life function ceased, my most precious one, I would collapse, I would draw the shades and I would live in the dark. I would never get out of my slur pad or clean myself. My fluids would coagulate, my cone would shrivel, and I would die, miserable and lonely. The stench would be great. My husband made me promise I would find love again. Eventually. He died 6 months ago. Edit. I want to thank each and every one of you who have commented and upvoted. As I said in a reply to someone else, my husband had brain cancer so we had the time to talk to each other about his wishes. 6 months out and Christmas, New Year was hard but I've decided to move to another country. Not so bad as it sounds, I'm in the UK. So I plan to go as soon as I can transfer my job. Life is hard and scary and you don't know what's round the corner. So hold your loved ones close and cherish those special moments with them. I'd say 3 years is more than a reasonable amount of time to start dating again. It sounds to me like your wife is very insecure and may have some trust issues. I don't believe she has any reason to be upset. Would she want you to be lonely, alone for the rest of your life? I hope she can eventually come to terms with it. So you'd marry another woman. I suppose you'd let her use my golf clubs, too. Of course not, she's left-handed. Your spouse dies in your 30s and you're supposed to be single forever? This hypothetical has come up before. Not to this extreme, mind you. And I told my wife, well, you shouldn't have died then and left me. If my husband dies, I will likely never remarry, but more so because fuck dating. When my mom died and my dad started dating again, we were all happy for him. He wasn't trying to replace my mom. He was just lonely. People need companionship. Some of us are content with a pet like I know I would be, and some of us need another human, like I am sure my husband would if I died. What a weird-ass thing to get hung up on. She'd be dead. Not like she would know any differently? Pam needs some therapy to sort out why this hypothetical situation is causing her this much real-life distress, and why she is so insecure. Not in a judgmental way, but in a genuine I worry for her way. 3 years isn't a short amount of time, and it's literally in the vows, till dear do you part. It's absurd to expect your spouse to stay single after you've died. You answered her question and she kept pushing not a foo emo. Your wife sounds exhausting. Sometimes my missus can be really touchy about seemingly inconsequential things, and then I read stuff like this and it makes me feel a little better. Good luck. Okay, I'm a woman and I'll be blunt here. Pam sounds very insecure and possessive. And her dragging her sister into this makes her sound pretty immature too. Everything you said was very reasonable. 3 years is plenty of time to move on, and your friend's late wife definitely would have wanted him to be happy instead of letting her death rob him of a quality life for years. Pam sounds pretty self-absorbed if she expects you to remain celibate for years after her death. Does she expect you to build a shrine to her and worship her memory until you die? She doesn't care about your happiness as much as she cares about herself. If I die before my husband, I definitely want him to find love again. I don't want him to spend the rest of his life feeling lonely out of fear of disrespecting my memory. I'll be dead. What do I care? It seems as if you and Pam have some deeper issues to work through. Is she usually a jealous person? Are you allowed to have female friends or acquaintances? Is it normal for her sister to butt into your relationship and trash you? None of this is healthy. Based on the limited info you provided here, it sounds like you're in a toxic relationship. TLDR. You did not fuck up at all. Sounds like someone who hasn't processed a lot of personal loss. After you lose a handful of your A-list people, you have the experience to know the sun's going to be back in the morning, no matter how dark it gets. Are you sure your wife is 34 and not 13? Your wife really needs to learn not to ask questions she doesn't want to know the answer to. You did nothing wrong, op. Buy a can of Spam and say you replaced her with Super Pam. Greater than her sister called me earlier today and trashed me for what I said. She said that I should have kept that to myself and I was a scumbag for basically telling Pam she can be replaced. This is a big red flag to me. The sister calling to cement you in as the bad guy is bad. If she called to ask if something was going on, facilitate some healing, great. But she's working to widen the gap here, not close it. I can't imagine wanting my husband to be alone and unhappy for the rest of his life. Lol, maybe she doesn't like you? I'm a loner for the most part. But I have been married for 28 years. My husband had said if he were to die first to at least mourn him 1 year. I told him it would be more than that. I don't feel that way. Should he meet anyone new, I don't care if he got with someone right after. He is wonderful and I know he loves me. Someone else can cherish, enjoy him once I am gone. I wouldn't want someone I love to be hurting and alone forever. Tonight when you're laying in bed next to her, tell her you can't believe she's still being overly dramatic and so sensitive. Report back, op. Your delivery wasn't amazing, but I think she's being oversensitive. Honestly, it's not like you've ramped up her life insurance and booked her for skydiving.